Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, 22 of Inktober. We've got 10 more days to go, and we have done a drawing every single day. We've only been using pen. We have been using colors, but that's only to sort of enhance or sort of gesture or reference things and things like that. I have been using references, guys. In the last couple of days, I haven't used any reference, and it's really hurt myself, and sort of like, oh my god, I still can't draw unless I've got a reference. I can kind of feel confident in drawing now, just pens, but yeah, I need some sort of reference each time. And today we are going to be drawing, because the word is ghost, on day 22. The word is ghost, and I thought instead of just doing a boring old cartoony ghosty thing, I thought I'd try doing a Ghost Rider. But I had a look at this and thought to my skill, can I draw that bike? Can I draw that bike, or can I just have a go at drawing something else that I cannot draw that well, as you've seen in previous go, especially on my digital work? I cannot draw a face. So I will have a go today in trying to draw a sort of skull on fire with the jacket. So I'm going to be putting in some details, but I don't, like I said, I want to put some real details into this skull, because I've never really drawn skulls or flames or anything like that, unless it's for a character. Previous things I have drawn, like other Marvel heroes, like what are they called now? What was she called, I should say? The Phoenix. She was on fire almost, but she had a very much of a theme. Like I said, I'm not very good at drawing faces, and that was where I got to last year. This is last year's book now. And I drew for other things. But yeah, this was something I did on fire, and I'm obviously not gonna be copying the pose, but I'm gonna be trying to draw a skull on fire. Whereas this one got digitized as well. When I get around to digitizing, it'd be another thing that I could be like, oh, that'd be a good thing, another video to digitize stuff. But that was last year. Like I said, I'm all right with drawing faces as long as they're like cartoony, don't have hair, can put loads of lines on it. But yeah, another door to war. This one is still available. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, you'll see the top rated videos, and that's one of those there. Anyway, that's another thing. We are now going to be drawing a skull. We will be hearing stuff in the background, so as always, I'm going to be listening to a playlist, but we're going to be going back to my old ways of listening to Comic Storian, because we're going to be doing a Marvel character as such, but it is going to be a flaming skull. I did want to draw the bike and things, but I can't get any picture or I can get decent detail so I can actually really sort of see it, because all I see there is black. The shadings there, I've tried drawing Venom at one point, and without like knowing the body shape or seeing muscles, it's really hard. And with this, it's just as hard. I mean, I might try, but I got a feeling today I just want to do like a face without eyes and nose and any skin on it. I'll probably be putting teeth in there. So without further ado, let's show you what all the other 21 days have done. So day 1 was Ring. This is going to take a while. And then we had Misfit on day 2. No, we didn't. We had Mindless on day 2. We're then on day 3 was Bait. Day 4 was Freeze. If you get that reference, let me know in the comment section. This was Build, and we had another go at doing some more to the Mixer stream on Minecraft. Don't know why the stream kept stopping. I got a feeling someone's messing with me. But anyway, we'll try again tonight. And then day 6 was Husky. And yeah, we did a Husky for that one. That one I'll just skip over because I've done enough explaining on that one. And that was day 7. This is day 8, where frail was the word. And yeah, I did a frail old lady. And this was another picture that I drew out of a comic. So I'm taking a reference and seeing what my skill compares to the reference. And that's again that's what I'll kind of be doing today. Just not as so much of a picture, more of just a face. And then on day 10 was Pattern. I chilled back on day 10 just to chill out and relax a little bit. Didn't want to put loads of effort into this one, so I just put a load of patterns. Then day 11 was Snow, and we did Abominable Snowman just because I didn't want to do a snow scene. I was going to draw a load of trees with a snow sort of path, and I thought, no, I'll draw a snowman sort of thing. And then the word was Dragon for day 12. And as you can see, I drew a dragon. We listened to a really good playlist or a really good audiobook in the background on that one. If you want to check that one out, the link is now down below on the video. Day 13 was Ash. And yeah, they're scattering the ashes as they do at the end of God of War. I did rip this string straight from the actual game. There was no other than referencing the game sort of thing, and yeah, a reference for that one. This one again, it didn't have a reference. You can see the sort of the quality goes down a little bit because I was like, oh, I'll just. I mean, I had a reference, but I didn't copy it. I just sort of went, oh, that's what she looks like, and that she's got that, and she's got this, and drew the way I wanted, and try to put in the more emphasis on the overgrown word, which was for day 14. And I did some vines. And then day 15 we have here. Day 15 was one of those DVD covers like I got here. Like I said, I pick out a DVD and I thought, oh, that looks like a good cover. And because of the word was Legend, I Am Legend was the film I picked up. And that is as close as I could get as the detailed on that cover. Again, we go to another cover. I'm sort of keeping to a theme here. And DVD covers, every time I hear a word, I think, oh, I just want to do a boring old cartoon, whatever. I want to do a picture. So where the wild things are, which was the word was wild, day 16. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I even did a little bit extra on live for you on Instagram, and that seemed to kill my feed. So I don't apologize if you guys got a bit of a problem that day. But it should be okay now. You should be able to go and check out my story. Check out what else I'm doing. Otherwise, hit that bell because you will get every single day because there's only 10 left. And we're at day 17. And the word was ornament. I took an ornament off my shelf because I didn't want to do a bubble and drew that one. Check that video out for that. There. Well, it was Friday. And again, I want to relax back. And I didn't want to do heavy detail because I'd only done a couple of heavy detailed pictures. And I wanted to just sort of relax back and go back to cartoon and sort of draw the Beano. If you do know what the Beano is, and word was Misfit, and that's Dennis the Menace. Not the American version, the English version, the Beano version. Great, that's a great travesty over that one. Many things, but this was, oh dear, what day was this? So Misfit, and then Sling, because we're already on the Sling, as the Misfit has a sling, as you saw in that picture. I thought I'd carry on that theme, but I thought I'd take it to Sherwood Forest and give the old hat hanging up there and sort of put a little bit of detail. But the more the detail I put into this one, I actually used my hands. My hands are the ones I drew on this page, hence all the hairy palms, because, you know, not exactly lacking of hair on my hands. Try to keep that and try to keep my hands in there. Again, same point here. Use the shadow of my actual hand, if you can see the shadow. Yeah, just use the shadow of my hand to draw around, and then drew my hands from there. And then we get to day, I don't know, because we're on day 22. That's day 20, 21. So day 20 was, I think, a Sunday, and I just wanted to chill back and draw a scene from where me and my son, we go for a little walk on a certain beach. If you know the coastline, it is kind of distinctive, and try to keep to that distinctive sort of thing. And that's us taking a walk. And the word was tread for that day. So I kept shoot a look where the treads of where we've been and where we go, where we've not been yet, sort of thing. I don't know. I was just going for treads. And then day 21 was not leprechaun. Day was treasure. Again, I could have drawn a treasure chest. Could have gone a deep sea treasure chest. But I thought treasure. You know, what guards their treasure? And then I thought a leprechaun. He has his treasure. Is he a good leprechaun? Are leprechauns good? Do they have that gold to entice you to then eat you away? Who knows? But I want to know what you think that character there is doing. Is he helping the leprechaun, or is he capturing the leprechaun because he's not a leprechaun of his own? Is the fairy helping him? Are they conspiring against him, or are they looking to where the leprechaun is looking? Who knows? You can find out as soon as I figure out, but I'd love to hear what you think about that story. So we get to day 22. Oh, 23 will be that day. It's an unlucky number. Is it an unlucky number? I might even just draw Jim Carrey and start doing something on the day 23. Because if you've seen that film, seen that film, it won't leave me alone, the number. It's even when I go shopping. It's even when I do other things. But I'm so glad it's day 22 and we get to draw the word ghost. So let's get the Ghost Rider playing in the background. Again, my name is Blut084, BLUT084 Art and Games. I'm here every single day on YouTube, occasionally on a Mixer, and every day and night over on Instagram. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ding the bell, and check out the links at the end or throughout the stream. Hopefully, I've got a way of linking some stuff up. But if you don't, you can still leave a comment and say hi, and I'll send you either way.
Johnny Blaze, the one true original Ghost Rider. We're gonna bring
Sorry, you can hear stuff in the background. I've actually got gardeners here at the moment.
Story written by Daniel Way. And in this
storyline, I hadn't got the guy. The landlord has decided it was going. She was going to have the gardeners mid-afternoon. Lovely job, thank you very much.
Oh, a flaming skull sits staring at the road in front of him.
Can you use my normal pens as always?
Void in his eye sockets, and as he leans back at his motorcycle, he pops over.
I might use colour. I'm going to be using a little colour because obviously I've got to try and show off the flames, but I will not be colouring anything in directly as in solid colour.
He sees the devil looking back at him. Johnny Blaze, the host of the Ghost Rider, realizes that he didn't escape hell. Once again, it was a trick from the devil, as the devil tells him, "Sucker." Johnny lets the bike hit the ground as he falls to his knees, shouting, "No!" Staring at the ground, defeated, Johnny tells himself, "Face it, you're never going to get out of hell. The devil won, he beat you. But this is Johnny Blaze."
Okay, so let's just start trying to draw a skull.
No! Where he hit is a lowly maggot of a life form, a digger, a being sent to hell to expand the pit. Johnny picks him up by the throat and stares at the terrified little creature. "Enjoying the show, you little freak." The creature panics. No, I'm not here to! And Johnny drops him because the horsemen of the devil are riding in to try and stop him. Johnny brings his arm back, flinging his chain behind him, telling himself that he's sick of running. Let them come. But these horsemen don't grab at Johnny, they grab at the maggot. Save me, please, take me with you. I'll take us out of here. Johnny watches them leave, and as he glances behind himself, he sees a hole that the maggot was digging. The maggot is brought to the devil's castle, where he's told that he's going to be tortured for trying to escape. And as they are carrying him to the torture pits, the roar of a motorcycle can be heard as Johnny Blaze rides in, flinging his chain. It wraps around the maggot, and he rides off, leaving a fiery trail behind him. Johnny whips the chain, bringing the maggot up to the front of the bike with him, and the maggot yells, "You saved me! You saved me, right?" Johnny tells him, "Not yet." And he throws the maggot onto the back of his bike. "Hold on." And the maggot screams, "My arms are too short!" With the hordes of the devils chasing them, Johnny rides as fast as he can until they reach that pit. The maggot is panicking. "I don't want to go back to the pit!" And Johnny informs him, "We aren't. We're going over it." The motorcycle of the Ghost Rider leaves a fiery trail in the sky as Johnny leaps over the gap of the pit. They crash onto the other side with both of them falling off of the motorcycle. But they made it, away from the devil's army. They go deeper into the cave with Johnny telling this maggot to get us out of here. "You know the way, you can dig an exit." But as they get to the end of the cave, Johnny turns back to the maggot and he only finds the devil, smiling. "You really fall for it every time, don't you, Johnny? See you on the other side, sucker." He lets Johnny fall through the boundary of hell, escaping it, finally. And on the surface, there's an explosion off of the ocean. And then the dead rise and they begin to walk on the water. And Johnny rides with them. Some time passes and Johnny is on the road pushing his motorcycle down the highway. He's alive and thankful for that, but there is something going on. How did the Ghost Rider literally crawl out of hell? Things are a bit blurry in his mind. A truck pulls up behind him and a woman with her top unbuttoned and short shorts climbs down, telling him that it looks like he's been through hell. Johnny cautiously tells her, "You could say that." She offers him a ride, but Johnny tells her he can't leave his bike, and she looks at him. "Think about it, Johnny. Who's going to steal it?" He grabs her by the throat, demanding to know how she knows his name, and she responds by pulling a gun and pointing it at his gut. He realizes his mistake.
Adverts. We hate you.
She kicks him in the nuts. This isn't Lucifer playing a trick on him. He made a mistake. She explains that her sister had his poster on her wall, and she had this whole fantasy that she was going to marry him. Marry the bad boy and ride off into the sunset. Well, she did marry a bad boy, but he was a loser who liked the Joker. She's going to tell Johnny the same thing that she told him. Kiss it goodbye, and with that, she began to leave. Johnny begs for her to take him. He's sorry, so she loads him up, unwilling to leave him here to die. She brings him to the Iron Skill at a truck stop and hands him a little money for food. He walks into the bathroom and he gives himself a clean shave and he cuts his hair. And outside, a van from a funeral home pulls up. A decaying corpse turns back to the family in the back seat. "I want you all to stay put. Is that clear? Good." A crying child turns to his mother. I thought Grandpa died. And his mother tells him, Grandpa did. That's not Grandpa. The corpse climbs out and puts the gas pump into the car, looking to the sky. It's a beautiful day, he tells himself as he walks away, leaving the gas pump to overflow. And he exclaims, it's a beautiful day to be alive. He walks in to get a book of matches, and as he's standing at the counter, a burning hot light begins to fill the room. The corpse turns to the light. Hello, Johnny. Standing there is the Ghost Rider, and he sees the true face of the corpse. It's the devil. Johnny throws him out of the building through the window, and he realizes that was a bit too easy. He walks out of the diner telling the devil, not so tough up here, are you? The devil gets on his knees looking up. Not yet, but I'm working on it. Oh yeah, work on this. And he puts a boot into the devil's face. Inside the van, the little boy's crying for his mommy, and the woman sees the keys in the van. She leaps to the front seat, while outside of the van, the devil is looking down at the puddle of gasoline that he's created. I almost feel sorry for you, Johnny. Almost. You've entangled yourself in a situation that is completely over your head, and you don't even know it. Johnny looks around the van, sitting in the gas, and he realizes what's going on. If he walks into that gas, the whole van will blow up. He can't walk forward with his hellfire. The devil is safe there. The devil stands up. What's it going to be, Johnny? The innocent or me? Tick-tock, tick-tock, time's up! The devil pulls out some matches, but inside of the van, the woman turns the key, hoping to escape when the ignition goes off, lighting the gas and blowing up the whole van. As Johnny is looking at the mess, trying to figure out what happened, a truck pulls up next to him with glowing yellow eyes. Suicides go to hell, Johnny. You shouldn't have hesitated. Then more cars arrive, trying to run over Johnny, with more people in them who have glowing yellow eyes. Don't worry, Johnny. You'll get another chance. 665 to be exact. And all of the cars leave as Johnny shouts out, no! And then in a whoosh, Johnny is gone. And he is now standing in a graveyard with a ball of white light in front of him. Hello. My name is Stephen Strange. You must stop your quest, Ghost Rider. Further involvement with Lucifer will only make the situation worse. You must stop or I will stop you. Johnny ponders it for a second, and then he flings his chain. Nice try, Lucifer. It wraps around Strange's neck, and Johnny flings him. You aren't going to fool me again. He runs up, kicking Strange in the head. Hey, Doc, shut up and fight. Johnny blinks. Now, I'm sure that it's you. Only you would be this imbecilic. He blasts Johnny in the chest, throwing him back, and as he's launched into the air, he flings his chain down again. Strange smiles. You missed. No, I didn't. And Johnny yanks the gravestones from behind Strange, throwing them into him. Strange blows up the pile of rubble on himself, shouting, enough! I brought you here with a hope to reason with you, but now I see that you are beyond a reason. He gets into a martial arts fighting pose, and Johnny stares at him. That's how you're going to take me out, Kung Fu? Strange shouts, I'm not Lucifer! And Johnny breathes fire all over him. Liar! As Strange casts a spell, a beam of light drops from the sky, hitting Johnny. Strange walks over to him to find only a skeleton with a Ghost Rider once, and that skeleton has no life in it. Johnny in his head is trying to figure out what happened. He can't move, he can't hear. Did he die? The chain...
Hold on, just getting to the hotel.
Albert, begone!
He rises out of the ground, completely wrapping around Strange, though. Life returns to the Ghost Rider, and his fire ignites. He pulls Strange in close, and he stares at him. Open your eyes, demon, and look upon me. And he hits Strange with a penance stare. You son of a... burn! And once he sees all of Strange's sins, Johnny realizes that it was, in fact, not the devil. It was Stephen Strange. He looks down at the now dead Strange, realizing that he screwed up. He screwed up bad. He tries to give him chest compressions, calling out that he needs him to breathe. You need to come back. I don't have the kind of power to help you, Strange. And in a flash of white light, a woman appears, telling Johnny, you have more power than you know. More power than any human should have. The fires of vengeance go out. Johnny looks up. Are you an angel? To some. But to Stephen, I am simply a friend. She lands, and she begins to cast her spells, hoping to revive him. I'm sorry. I thought it was Lucifer. I didn't know. She looks at him. There's much that you do not know. So Johnny lets the fires rage, and the fires of vengeance reignite. Do you know what's going on? What is Lucifer doing? What did he mean by 665 chances? I cannot involve myself in this, Johnny. He flings the chains around the angel's neck. Too late. How dare you? I want answers. You want vengeance. Exactly! You poor soul. Do you know where this path will lead you? Yes, I've been there and back, and I brought the devil with me. And you know his plan and how I can stop him. I need to know those answers. You can't stop him, because you are his plan. The devil can't cross into the celestial plane. So when you crossed wholly intact, the devil was broken into 666 pieces and sent around the world. Each of those pieces landed in a recently deceased body, one that hadn't crossed over yet. Each time you kill one, the remaining pieces will get stronger. He wants you to kill him, to bring his power back to him, here on the celestial planes.
Why me? Can't anyone kill him?
Yes, that would work up to a point, but eventually his individual bodies become so powerful that only you can destroy them.
Well, why doesn't he just kill himself?
You already know that answer, Johnny. Suicides go to hell, and he's not about to volunteer to go back.
So I'll go get him and drag him down to hell myself. You said I have the power to cross the plains, right?
She looks down. Yes.
Then that's what I'm going to do.
The motorcycle rides up to its host and Johnny Blaze hops on it.
And not you, or anyone else is going to stop me.
He roars off into the night, and as she cries, her tears fall to Stephen Strange's face, bringing him back to life. He rubs his head and he looks at her. Why are you crying? And she looks at the fiery trail. Because he's right. I hope you enjoyed this classic Ghost Rider story. Now, we did this initial episode to see if anybody's even interested in it. And if you want more Ghost Rider, if you want it on a weekly basis, then give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and click our playlist where we tell you more Ghost Rider stories. It was truly epic, and it's one of my favorite Ghost Rider classic storylines. Don't forget to check it all out by sticking around on this channel, and I'll see you next time right here.
Feel every moment.
I'm James Glacier. I need you to fly us higher than anyone has ever been.
And so it begins.
Every now and then, we're traveling into an unknown.
We should think it slowly.
No.
There will come a time when we go no further.
I told you after we were done with the Hulk, we would bring back Ghost Rider. Well, Johnny Blaze is here again, and this time he's going to be fighting the Beast of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman of Illinois. Yeah, just play the video. In the small town of Sleepy Hollow, the people enjoyed a nice quiet life. And on this night, the young man Cameron brings his date home. Or at least, that's what she thinks. As Cameron passes by Emily's house, Emily tells Cameron that he just missed the turn, and Cameron says that their date isn't over yet. He parks the car, and Emily says that she really needs to get home. Her dad will kill her if she doesn't. And Cameron gets out telling her that he's going to tell everyone at school that they did it. So she might as well go along with it. Once Cameron gets out of the car, Emily locks the doors, asking, "Please, just take me home. This isn't how I wanted the night to end." And suddenly there's a loud noise and a flash of light, and Emily grabs her phone, shouting, "I'm going to call my dad!" However, as she looks back up the window, she sees Cameron standing there, and then he calls over. She gets out of the car and she screams as she looks at Cameron's decapitated head laying next to his body. The next morning, Sheriff Harry O'Connor, the godfather to Cameron, and an old partner's son stops by the hospital to visit Emily. Harry asks how she's doing, and Harry's father tells him that they've been keeping her sedated. Just then she wakes back up screaming, trying to break the straps keeping her down, calling for her father. Tears fill the parents' eyes, seeing their daughter just like this, and Harry begins to undo the straps. Emily's mother says the nurse said not to, and then she stops, telling Harry, "Thank you." As the parents step out, Harry says to just give him 3 minutes. He'd like to talk to her alone. Once the door shuts, Harry leans back on the bed and he tells Emily, "I just want to tell you something. Cameron, he got himself into some trouble about a year ago when he tried to force himself onto a girl. That being said, it's completely okay to have defended yourself but before he could finish, Emily tells him, "It's not what happened." And Harry sighs, stating, "Then just tell me what did happen." A short while later, as Harry leaves to investigate what happened, he receives a call from his golfing buddy, Archie. Harry answers, stating that he's a little busy at the moment, but Archie tells him, "Actually, we found the fella out here on the course. He's got no ID and there's blood all over his clothes." Harry spins back around and he heads over to the country club to find that man, who actually happens to be Johnny Blaze. As Harry pushes him into the locker room, he tells the other men that he's going to have a word with him in private. Harry then reaches into a locker, grabbing a golf club, and he says, "Those men must have really roughed you up, huh?" Johnny rubs his head, telling him, "What? No, those guys didn't do anything to me. And Harry tells him, yeah, sure they did. And he shuts the locker. Johnny asks, am I under arrest? Because if not, I'm going to go. And Harry says, you're free to try. And then he shouts, drop the weapon. Do it now. Johnny asks him, what are you talking about? I don't even have one. But before he can finish, Harry hits him with a club. After a few more hits, Harry asks, where did the blood come from? And Johnny tells him, I'm not sure. I guess it's mine. And Harry tells him, wrong answer. Then he hits him again and he asks, what do you know? Johnny looks up with fire in his eyes, stating, if you keep beating me, something bad is going to happen, and I won't be able to stop it. Harry leans down asking him, oh yeah? That's how it is? Gonna get all worked up and lose control? Is that when something bad happens? At that moment, a fiery explosion goes off, knocking Harry to the ground, and the Ghost Rider stands up telling him, yes! Days later, Harry wakes up in the hospital bed asking what happened. Another sheriff says actually they were hoping that he'd be able to tell them. Everything in that locker room was scorched. The only thing that didn't get burned was him. Harry picks himself up, grabbing his clothes, and the sheriff says that if he's planning to go through the back, the reporters are up front. There was another murder, too, actually. Harry grits his teeth, asking, were there any witnesses? And the sheriff says, yeah, several, in fact. They all say that the man's head was on, and Harry pauses him. Fire. And the sheriff says, everything is just so weird, right? But when he looks back, Harry...
Our path in life is no straight line. It is filled with twists and turns.
He's gone. Meanwhile, over at the Levins home, Mrs. Levins sits at a table where her husband had recently been killed, asking if they could please untie her so they could pray. The seemingly dead jack-o'-lantern turns back, telling her, I'm having a real busy day, and I'm trying to watch some TV. Later that night, two young boys walk through the street past curfew, but before they can get very far, they see a car coming. One of the boys runs through the woods, telling the others to just relax. It isn't a cop car, it only has one headlight, it's a motorcycle. The first boy stops and says, okay, and as the light gets closer, they see that this isn't a motorcycle at all, but it's Jack's flaming head coming right for them. As the boys get closer to the bridge, one jumps into the water, and shortly after, so does the second. The first boy grabs his friend's hand, and he begins to swim up to the shore, and after he pulls the body up, he notices his hands are all bloody. When he looks back, he sees that he's missing his head. Jack flies down, telling the boy, I could have let him live, but it's going to cost you your soul. Do you? The boy reaches out and a chain wraps around Jack, pulling the body away. The flaming head falls to the ground and he tells the boy, we'll see each other again soon. As Jack's head returns to his body, he tells the Ghost Rider, if you didn't notice, I was a bit busy back there. The Ghost Rider speeds off through a field, dragging Jack's body until he finally stops. The momentum launches Jack forward onto the street where there's a honking sound coming towards him. A second later, a semi-truck drives back, slamming into Jack, and his body is pulled underneath and driven by all 18 wheels. The truck driver jumps out of the cab and runs back asking, what am I going to do? And the Ghost Rider tells him, you're going to run very far away, now! As the truck driver rides off, Ghost Rider says, the slaughter of people that's tonight, Lucifer! Jack begins to laugh and he asks, you recognize my new costume, huh? Well, there's been some optional equipment that came along with this body. Lucifer holds his arm out to reveal a wrist blaster, and he fires it right into the Ghost Rider's head. The blast shatters the Ghost Rider's skull, and as it mends itself back together, Ghost Rider says, that was a nice try, Devil, but you're only delayed. Well, yeah, duh. But you want to know why? Jack's hoverboard flies over, knocking Ghost Rider in the head, and Lucifer jumps on it, yelling, later on, bonehead. As the night goes on, Ghost Rider heads back. Car crashes into
Yeah,
the car
screaming at you.
driving and then it drives
See that coming
through a
screaming at
drugstore,
you.
hitting the Ghost Rider. Harry gets out of the car, the large gun going, I'm
Don't
not
stare into his eyes.
This gun is more than enough to blow your head clean off, just like those kids. Ghost Rider tells him, that wasn't me. And Harry asks him, so it must have been the other guy with the flaming head, right? Meanwhile, over the cemetery, Lucifer throws his arms up, yelling, I just love Sleepy Hollow. Who wants to go trick-or-treating? Suddenly, a hand shoots out of the graves nearby. As the night goes on, Lucifer arrives at a door and he rings the bell, telling everyone, be quiet. You're going to ruin the surprise. The lights inside turn on, and just as Lucifer says, trick or treat, a blast comes through the doorway and Harry reloads his shotgun. However, before our story got to that point, we must go back to the drugstore, where Harry rammed into the Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider pulls himself up from the wreckage to answer Harry's question as to who he is. I am the spirit of vengeance. I am the Ghost Rider. Harry points his gun, telling him, all right, just needed a name for the report is all. But then the gun begins to melt and Ghost Rider stands up with the fires of hell burning around him. The chains wrap around Harry and Ghost Rider tells him, if you delay me again, I will show you punishment of biblical proportions. Harry shouts, if you're going to kill me, you might as well do it now, because I'm not going to stop coming after you. Harry's then thrown from the building as it explodes, and he's left to watch as both the building and his car burns. Just as Harry goes to call it in, he sees Ghost Rider finish the job. Ghost Rider doesn't answer, and then he walks forward. Except Harry sees a transformation, and Johnny Blaze falls face first onto the ground. A short while later, Johnny opens his eyes, feeling ropes around him, asking, "Where the hell am I?" And Harry tells him, "You're in my basement. If you try to go all flame and skull, well," he then points to all the munitions stacked up behind him. Harry says, "I don't care who you are. I just want to know."
What do you want to know? What do you want to know?
No, that's my door. Pick another door. There's a room in there.
What you are and why you're here. Johnny takes a deep breath and he says his name is Johnny Blaze. A long time ago, he made the deal with the devil to save the one that he loved. Because of that deal, he became the Ghost Rider and got sent to hell. He managed to escape, but so did the devil. But not in one piece, but in many pieces. Those pieces are scattered across the globe, and they've started bringing back people who died recently, possessed. Right now, I'm chasing the devil, trying to fix what I did. Any questions? Harry waits for a moment of silence. He asks, "What's the devil look like anyway?" Johnny thinks back, telling him, "I can't remember." And then the Ghost Rider shows an image of a flaming pumpkin. Harry thinks about it for a bit, then he grabs his phone, calling his friend Ned to tell him, "Look, I know someone dug him a grave a few days ago. Would it happen to have been Stephen Levins?" Ned says, "Yeah, actually, now the whole cemetery's all dug up." Suddenly a scream can be heard on the other line, and before Harry can do anything else, the call is disconnected. Johnny asks, "Who's Steve Levins?" And Harry explains that he was a local boy who went bad. He left here, went to New York, where he put on a costume and started killing people for money. Went by the name Jack-o'-lantern. Except he got his head blown off by that vigilante, the Punisher. Anyway, his parents had the body sent here to be buried, and it looks like he isn't buried anymore. Harry then goes to untie Johnny, and Johnny says, "Wait, you actually believe me?" Harry starts to gear up, telling him, "I've been an officer for a long time. Been in war twice. Suffice to say, nothing really surprises me anymore. So, if you're going after the devil, and one just popped up out of the ground for real, we should probably go kill him." Which brings us to the current time, where Harry has blown off Lucifer's head. Lucifer stands back up, telling the undead army, "Don't just stand there! Attack!" The undead shuffle their way up the stairs, and Harry shoots into each of them, shouting, "Corpses are nothing to worry about. You're useless without orders." Lucifer tells him, "I already knew that part." And Harry says, "I wasn't talking to you." Right behind Lucifer, Ghost Rider walks up, pulling at his chain. Lucifer looks around and he says, "Looks like we've been set up, boy." Ghost Rider tells him, "Bitch, just cover you, devil." And Lucifer says, "Oh yeah, well you're stupid." And he throws 3 pumpkin bombs. Ghost Rider throws his chain and Lucifer says, "Wow, you really are stupid." Just as Harry gets done pushing a couch in front of the door, an explosion goes off, shaking the entire house. Lucifer shouts, "I can't believe it. Do you know how hard it was for me to raise an entire zombie army? Do you even care?" Back inside, Harry gets ready to call it in when he sees someone walking towards him. Cameron. Outside, Ghost Rider and Lucifer hear Harry scream. And Lucifer says, "Looks like the sheriff just got reunited with his long-lost godson. So glad he happened to make it." Ghost Rider calls out, "Harry!" And Lucifer tells him, "Wait, I'm standing right here, and you're concerned with that guy? Really? I am very disappointed in you, Ghost Rider." Ghost Rider stares and he throws his chain, telling him, "Shut up!" But before the chain could reach Lucifer, the hoverboard shoots by, getting caught in the chain, flying into the air with the Ghost Rider. Lucifer calls out, telling him, "You should take this time to think about what's important to you and get those priorities in mind." As the hoverboard shoots into the sky, the Ghost Rider pulls himself onto it. With all of his strength, he pulls on the chain until it rips down the middle of the board, and he begins to fall back down to the earth. Off in the distance, a low rumble can be heard, and the Ghost Rider's bike drives up onto a car and into the air. Ghost Rider then grabs onto the handlebars, revs the engine, and he races back to the ground. Back inside of the house, Harry grabs a fork, telling Cameron, "I don't want to stab you with this, but..." Cameron lunges forward, and even with Harry stabbing him, he turns back and grabs Harry by the throat. Harry pushes him, shouting, "That's it! You were a bad kid, you always were!" Cameron continues to push forward, but this time Harry kicks him into the refrigerator, telling him, "If you hadn't been killed, you probably would have ended up killing somebody else." The refrigerator rocks, and then it falls onto the boy. Harry holds the refrigerator as Cameron tries pushing it off, and then he stays there until the thumping finally stops. But then Lucifer steps in, telling him, "This may have been a bit of a surprise, but I have never fired a gun. All I have to do is point out at what I want dead and pull the trigger, right?" Harry tells him, "That's right. But you gotta put bullets in it first." Lucifer looks at the gun to check, and then a chain wraps around his foot and he's pulled away. The shotgun falls to the ground, going off, and Lucifer laughs, shouting, "Ha ha! You got me, Harry!" Harry gets back up, telling him, "No, I didn't. We did." Ghost Rider drags Lucifer through the house until he gets him into the trap, a room full of explosives. The entire house explodes in a fiery blaze, and the Ghost Rider walks right back out of it. Lucifer picks himself up, telling him, "This is a drag. I actually liked this outfit." Without saying a word, the Ghost Rider shoves his arm into Lucifer's chest, pulling out his beating heart. He holds the heart up, setting it on fire, and then he puts it back into Lucifer's chest. Lucifer stumbles back, and his heart explodes, spraying fire everywhere. His head falls off of his shoulders, and then the Ghost Rider stomps on it, crushing the pumpkin into pieces. With Lucifer taken care of, Johnny Blaze changes back, and he goes to check on Harry, who hid in the basement. He asks if anything's wrong, and Harry shouts, asking, "What's wrong is that I'm 62 years old." Johnny tells him, "Look, I wanted to thank you for it." But before he can say another word, Harry tells him that you can thank me by getting the hell out of my town and never coming back, ever. And so, Johnny Blaze gets back on his motorcycle and leaves the once quiet town of Sleepy Hollow. And there you have it, another Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider storyline. Now we're going to be bringing you a few of these over the next couple of weeks to wrap up the Daniel Way storyline of the Ghost Rider, where he hunts down the devil. Let me know what you think about the classic Ghost Rider, the one on the motorcycle, the one with the chain, the one named The Blaze. Let me know what you think of that, and I will see you next time right here at Comic Stories. Subscribe to get the next video on Sunday. It's time for Agent Venom's first major team-up. Ghost Rider, Red Hulk, and X-23. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down to the decimal bites.
Yeah, morning, Skate. How you doing, buddy?
All alterations to the panel, text, and images are within copyright problem, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Now, we are continuing our older stories of Agent Venom, but I want you guys to be aware of something before we enter into this storyline. This one takes place about 3 or 4 years ago. X-23 was simply Laura, and Red Hulk was working as a good guy. The one that you're probably all going to be asking about is Alejandra, Ghost Rider. She was a Ghost Rider that popped up during the Fear Itself event, and she wasn't around for very long before Johnny Blaze took back the power. Our story begins in Las Vegas, as Flash Thompson sits in a hotel telling Betty to stop calling him. They're finally through. After throwing down the phone, Flash tells himself that this is good. He just needs to keep her away from him. And then he turns back to the half-drank liquor bottle. Meanwhile, over at the Devil's Den Casino, Laura Kinney receives a tip that someone has made a purchase of her blood. The casino's owner, Mr. Degley, has been planning on stealing something that many have attempted to do before, and that is steal.
Oh, the nose is in the wrong place.
Degley and his assistant Oily make their way to the construction site.
Damn it!
Site is guarding a giant antiquary. Oily says that it's time for them to get the party started, and then her and Degley begin their preparations. First, 100 human souls, alien flesh provided by Toxin, and the blood of a mortal who's been to hell and back. The skies begin to turn red, and Degley says now they must await their final ingredient. Just outside of Vegas, the new Ghost Rider, Alejandra, and the former Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze, sit in a cafe getting a bite to eat. As they get their food, Alejandra starts to hear them. Hundreds of cursed, sinful souls screaming out. Johnny says that that's a pretty big number. They should call a friend of his to investigate. However, as Johnny runs outside to a payphone, Alejandra has already left him behind. Back in the hotel, Flash looks at a picture of his father, thinking about how there were never really any good times, and how now he's following in his father's footsteps with the drinking. Suddenly there's a loud boom, and Thunderbolt Ross comes charging into the room, telling Flash, housekeeping. Ross says that he's going to hand over the symbiote now, but without Flash to bond with, Venom starts to cover Ross. He runs back out of the room, trying to pull the symbiote off of him, and just as Venom releases, Ross sees Venom cause him to run into a gas station, which then explodes. Out on the strip, Flash runs away, thinking that there's no way that he can handle a Hulk right now. He needs to get away. And then from the blast at the gas station, Ross jumps down and he smiles at Flash.
Well, that's enough detail on the skull. Should we do something else?
Moments later, Flash is lost
Let's do the
and shot
jacket.
across the city. And then over at the construction site,
Oh, that
Alejandra
skull on the
makes her way
jacket.
closer and can hear the screaming getting louder and louder. She realizes that this device is a black doorway, something that can literally bring hell onto Earth. After jumping down, Alejandra begins to ride in the opposite direction that the device is spinning. All the while, Degley is watching and smiling. Soon the force from Alejandra's riding begins to open up the portal, and Degley calls out to her, stating that he could never have done this with any other soul, but she's just powered the centrifuge and opened the door to hell. But she should think twice about stopping, because if she does, the doorway will reverse and pull down everything into hell. During this, Flash and Ross continue to battle, but as Ross is knocked to the ground, he sees the ground is kind of on fire. He asks if this is one of Flash's powers, and Flash tells him, no, I actually thought it was one of yours. Both of them turn back and they start to see demons bursting out of the ground. And they begin to chase all of the humans, and Flash says, "This is exactly what this is." Flash quickly tries to jump in to stop one of the demons, but another gets by, and Ross gets ready with a school bus to smack it down. Back outside of the city limits, Johnny pulls up to see the fire, slowly thinking to himself that he knows what this means. Someone is making a play at the convergence. So after pulling out an amulet and placing it on the Las Vegas sign, he says that this will make a barrier that the Hellfire cannot pass. So it's time for him to step in and fix this. As Degley really ride through the burning city on their chariot, Degley says that Hell's expansion seems to have been halted. Once we get back to Degley, Oily says that it's been a long time since they've seen home, since his father cast them out. Degley's voice then begins to change, and he says, "And now, all of a sudden, Hell bows to Blackheart." Degley changes back into his original form, Blackheart, and Oily changes back into a demon. She tells him that if she had to disguise herself any longer, she would claw her own eyes out. But at least they did have uses for their flesh. After the two of them kiss, Blackheart turns to an orb and says that now it's time for them to gloat. The orb begins to display the image of Mephisto, and Blackheart asks, how is his corner of Hell tonight? Mephisto tells him that it's secure, though he can see that that was not a part of his plan to leave it as such. Mephisto laughs, stating, "You could have uprooted all of Hell, but you only managed to draw in a small, meaningless corner. Surely you didn't think to call and brag about that failure." Blackheart tells him that soon the souls of Hell and Earth will be his, and soon he will have more power than Mephisto, and he will torment him for eternity. Blackheart then tells Oily to bring him their symbiote warriors, and she tells them that there's a bit of a problem with that. Somebody's already gone and released them. The orb then displays images of Laura already engaged fighting the symbiotes that were created from her blood. Back outside of the centrifuge, Johnny makes his way out to Alejandra, and he tells her that he'll take over for now. She needs to hurry and find whoever is casting the spell. She says the spirits will tear him apart, but he tells her that he's made of some pretty stern stuff. He can survive for a while. Now go. Soon inside Blackheart's office, a loud crash comes out of the window as Laura jumps in asking if he's the pig who stole her blood. And then Flash and Ross burst in from the door asking if he's the one responsible for this. Blackheart looks at them and says, "I am guilty of all charges." Moments later, through the other window, Alejandra storms in, and Blackheart tells everyone, "You are all weak. Now the Hellions mirror cauldron will steal the impression of your soul's true form and twist it." The four heroes stand as their four counterparts and make their way out of the mirror. Blackheart tells Oily to go find out what's stopping the expansion, and just as she leaves, all of the counterparts begin attacking. Ross calls out to Alejandra and tells her to follow the butt-ugly one with wings, and whatever she needs to do, stop her. As Flash stands before the evangelist, he tells him that he never really was big on church, plus, he looks kind of weak. The priest begins to shout, "Weakness? I'll show you weakness, just like how much you rely on that suit." Pages from the book that the priest is holding start to fly towards Flash, and they start ripping venom from him. The shadow starts to take form, and Flash sees his father, drinking, and the priest says that it's like father like son, following in the same footsteps as his father. He was crippled even before the war took his legs. Laura begins to look around, asking if this is Hell, then Hell, and X666 finishes, stating, "You're wondering how you can be in Hell if you don't have a soul." X66 begins cheering, and Laura pushes her aside, stating, "Yeah, you're the blonde, pure, all-American cheerleader I could never be. Hell's gonna have to try a little bit better than that." X666 then stabs Laura in the back with her metal pom-pom and tells her that she's exactly what she is on the surface, a cheap Wolverine knockoff. Back with Alejandra, Akor slowly catches up to Alejandra and knocks her off her bike. He stands over her, telling her that he is the blood of the gods. He is pure retribution without their human frailties. As he cracks open the ground, a hole starts to open and Alejandra falls in. He goes on stating that her brand of vengeance isn't holy, it's just selfish mortal revenge. He then tells her that she has so much to pay for, and Alejandra says, "You're right. Alejandra was a bad girl, and you may hold power over her, but Alejandra is dead," Ghost Rider calls out. Alejandra's bike rides in, and then she starts to ride over Akor as Ghost Rider, telling him, "Ghost Rider is all that's left." But as Alejandra has overcome her weakness, the others are still struggling, along with Johnny, who's trying to maintain the centrifuge. Back outside of the city limits, Stephen Strange and Damon Hellstorm look at the barrier around Vegas, and Damon says, "Hell is coming." As Alejandra makes her way back, Blackheart taunts her, stating that once Hell will spread, the spirit of vengeance will sit at my right hand. She tells him to get out of her head. Besides, she's about to snap his beloved's neck. Blackheart watches and tells her to wait, and then calls for all of the counterparts to move in on Alejandra's location. A little while later, Flash finds Ross sitting alone, and Ross says that brain matter thing knew. It made him cry out for his mother. "They will not talk about this to anyone." Flash then asks if he's got a plan, and before leaping away, he tells him, "Soldier, I've always got a plan." Back at Blackheart's tower, X666 tells Laura that she'll be back soon. She's needed elsewhere, but until then, keep on smiling! Still wounded from before, Laura pushes her way into Blackheart's chamber, and Blackheart's voice asks if she's here to kill her. She tells him yes. He tells her that she's welcome to try, but he does have bodyguards, and she may recognize them, since they're all made from her. Over with Alejandra, she manages to pin Oil down, but just before she can cut her head off, the rest of the counterparts appear to stop her. The priest tells Alejandra to just face it. She can't beat all of them. She belongs with them. God's spirit of vengeance she might be, but she carries a demon inside. X666 starts cheering, telling her, "Join us!" I noticed on her team for the new members. Seconds later, Ross and Flash come crashing in, stating that they really don't care about routines. Ross then calls out for them to switch counterparts and for Alejandra to hurry back up and catch up to Oil. The priest then asks Ross if he feels like his fists are stronger than hell, because if so, he's a fool. A blast shoots out of Ross's chest, and everyone turns to see a giant gaping hole right through him. Alejandra shouts that she will kill them, but the brain matter being opens Alejandra's chest, telling her that there is nothing. Venom starts to take over Flash, and he tells Alejandra to just go. He'll hold the line! And she tells him that they will kill him like they did Ross and her. Venom's voice starts to take over, telling her, "So they'll kill me, but I'll hold the line!" Meanwhile, over at the tower, Laura fights her way through the symbiote clones of herself, and after one last slice at one's head, she focuses her attention at Blackheart. Blackheart stops her for a moment and asks if she would like to know if the clones have souls, because he knows the answer. She stops and tells him yes, and he says, "You are suffering in hell right now. You couldn't be in hell without a soul, but that's the trouble with souls." Blackheart pushes a button stating, "Souls make people stupid." And then the floor opens up beneath Laura's feet and she falls down into a pit of lava. Back outside, the priest begins to attack Flash, using the pages of the Bible as he did before, but this time, Venom rushes forward, grabbing the book and aiming it at the brain matter being. He then grabs the priest by the neck and begins to squeeze. The priest shouts, "You can't kill me!" And Flash tells him, "You're not real. My mind created you, so I can damn well kill you." As the priest takes his last breath, hands reach up from behind Flash and then snap. Oily reports that she won't be able to catch the Ghost Rider in time for the amulet. But as Alejandra rides off, Blackheart whispers to her that he can put the souls back into people that she's wronged. So destroy the amulet, and she will put right those that she has wronged. Losing more and more of her strength, she begins to crawl toward the amulet, and Stephen Strange asks, "What are you doing?" She grabs the amulet, and Damian shouts, "No, don't do it!" And then the amulet begins to burn. Ash slowly begins to fall, and she says that she's sorry, and the fear in his skull fades. However, just as she grabs the amulet, everyone begins to see the lives that they wanted. Alejandra finally finds her mother. Flash sees that he has all of his limbs again, and how Spider-Man offered him a place as Spider-Man. Ross leads a special group known as the Hulkbusters, and even Laura was saved at the last minute by Logan from the lava pit. But slowly these visions begin to turn. They turn into twisted versions of them or their loved ones dying. Everyone begins to scream out, and they realize that it was all in their head. A voice then calls out to everyone, asking if they know where they are, and Flash says that they are fighting evil. Doesn't that give them a pass on this place? The voice says that they let the infertile border spread. They were already on the threshold, so there really is only one place they could have gone. Welcome to hell! Mephisto appears before everyone, telling them what really burns him, and part of his expression was that this new territory was broken into by Blackheart. Alejandra asks if he's competition. Mephisto says he's the worst kind. He's my son. Mephisto then goes on stating that he can fix this, because technically, you shouldn't be able to die in hell. So all you need to do is agree to one condition of mine, and I will put you back on Earth to beat the snot out of that boy. Flash says, "What do you need? Our souls?" And Mephisto tells him, "Actually, I kind of already have them. You are in hell, but I will call on you at a later time. So all you need to do is enter into my eternal covenant." Mephisto holds out his hand, asking if he has their vows, and one by one, they all place their hand on his. A short while later, back up on Earth, the heroes return to the world of the living, and Alejandra tells everyone that things are getting worse. Blackheart is in possession of the spirit of vengeance. But before the group can move out, the demons start to crawl out of the ground. Laura jumps in, hacking away at everything that moves, and once the last one is done, everyone starts to set their new plan in motion. The plan will be for Laura to sneak over to the centrifuge and leave a bomb to blow up once Johnny spins the other direction, while the others head back to the tower. While Laura quietly cleans the demons out there, Blackheart begins his preparations for bonding with the spirit of vengeance. And just as he does, a giant red Hulk gets closer, and closer, and closer. Once he gets close enough, Ross punches through the window, knocking Blackheart to the ground. Ross jumps on top of him, but before he can continue beating on him, spikes shoot out of Ross's back. Before allowing him to do any major harm, Venom jumps in, punching and swinging. And while Flash and Ross battle, Alejandra sneaks in and grabs the spirit of vengeance. Flash tells her to give it to him and stick to the plan, but Alejandra tells him, "Screw the plan. She's leaving. Venom webs the vial before she can leave and says, "Now, power am ours." However, before Venom can open the vial, Blackheart throws Ross at him, launching the two of them from the building. Blackheart then turns to Alejandra and tells her that her friends don't seem to want to see her back with the spirit. So if she tells him their plans, and without resistance, she does. Blackheart then sends Oily to the centrifuge and tells Alejandra, "Ah, mortals, so many schemes. I truly love tormenting you." And he knocks her out the window. He calls out to Mephisto, stating, "Look what you've become." And then he stops and he looks down, and he sees Ross with the Venom symbiote and the Spirit of Vengeance. Meanwhile, in a back alley, Flash sits alone, holding off a demon horde. He checks his remaining ammo, and he tells himself, giving Hulk the symbiote was a bad idea. Back in the tower, Blackheart tells them, "So what, you've combined? Hell's hatred fuels." But his symbiote is cut off when Ross fires a fire web in his face, yelling, "Vengeance!" Over at the huge, morphing and setting up the explosives as Oily grabs a hold of her. She fights back, but Oily tells her that gargoyles are versed in black magic. Alchemy, for example. She looks at her claws and sees them beginning to rust away. She then tells her how she's about
This is
to
my
make
brush pen, guys.
her own medicine back in the alley. Demons begin to overwhelm her.
It's
Suddenly, a
Copic
hand
marker,
breaks
so it
down
does so
from
it
Alejandra
blends and
tells them, "Come on,
moves across the
somebody,
page
you're gonna help me
quite
get the Spirit of Vengeance back."
happily.
Flash says that they
You
can't
can see it gives a
monster,
shade.
but Alejandra stops
Because it's
them.
running out once again, it's still good for shading, but to do a thick line, not so much.
She shouts that she's not going to help him, so Flash points his gun.
Because it was a large area, I wanted to just really darken out without sort of having to squeak those pens again.
One of the bombs on Oily's back.
I'd
Before
use
she hits
this.
the button, Oily
What effect I
grabs
got.
Laura and bites down on her neck. Seconds later, Flash and Alejandra drive by, shooting her away. However, while Flash's focus is outside, Alejandra takes the chance and pushes Flash out the window. Oily watches as Alejandra drives off and tells him, "Man, looks like you're screwed. Not only are your friends jerks, someone ran off with your legs." But then Oily remembers she had something to do. "Oh right, kill Johnny Blaze." Flash grabs a hold of his gun and he takes aim. Boom! Pieces of Oily start to fall out of the sky, and Laura tells him good teamwork. Back over at the tower, Blackheart shouts, "What can you do? Once I ingest the little spirit." But a creature shouts that it's found something. It's found his Helion's Miro Cauldron. Light from the mirror shines, and Blackheart shouts that there is nothing that can stop him. And then a voice tells him, "Let him heal his squalid heart, dear brother." As the light begins to fade, Alejandra says they've had their fun. Now give back the Spirit of Vengeance. The spirit pulls away from Venom Hulk, stating, "She's the host!" And once the spirit bonds back with her, she takes off. Moments later, Blaze rides up with Laura and Flash, and Venom starts to leave Ross. Ross tells Flash things to alone, and a voice then says, "There you are." Everyone looks up to see Captain America, and he tells Flash, "You're coming with me." Flash tells him, "I've saved New York, you, and now Las Vegas. Will you just give me a break?" Cap stares, and Giant Man and Beast agree. Maybe they should just let him help. Flash pulls back his mask, then extends his hand, stating, "There you go, the nerds have spoken." But while Flash and Cap shake, Steven asks Damon if there's something wrong. Damon looks at Flash, Ross, and Laura and sees the markings on their chests, and he says it's nothing. Problem for another day. And this is another chapter of the Agent Venom storyline, one of the longest ones. They're all not going to be this long, just to give you guys a heads up. But it's one of my favorite ones because you have an amazing team up, and then everyone goes to fight hell. How can you go wrong with that? Don't forget to click the link down below if you want to read the full story for yourself and get the full context of everything that happened. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ComicStorian. And if you enjoy these dramatic readings, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. And I'll see you next time right here.
Go and check them out, guys. There will be a link down below, but there is links to them on other videos.
New age, meaning it's time for a new Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes. Welcome to the Complete Story Series. It comes down to that injectable device to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Now, Robbie Reyes was the most recent Ghost Rider, and sadly the run didn't last that long. But it appears Marvel is giving him some more attention. They are going to be bringing him into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, as stated at San Diego Comic-Con. Vengeance is coming to the Agents. In East Los Angeles, a young man named Robbie Reyes begins finishing up work for the day. Before leaving, his boss calls him over to give him this week's pay. When Robbie checks it, he notices that it's a little bit short. His boss tells him that it was an honest mistake, and after getting the rest of his money, Robbie heads home. Along the way, Robbie sees some street thugs picking on a disabled child. The thugs push the child out of his wheelchair and they begin riding on it. But before they can get very far, Robbie runs in, punching them to the ground and beating on them. The boy yells out, "No!" And Robbie looks up to the one that they call Guero, pointing a gun at him. The thugs then beat and leave Robbie and the boy in the alley while they take the wheelchair. The boy Robbie rescued, that was his brother Gabe. Robbie picks him up, and before leaving, Gabe tells him not to forget about his comics. The two of them head home, and Gabe tells Robbie how cool he was coming in like that. He was totally a hero. He showed those guys. And once they get home, Robbie makes dinner for the both of them. Gabe tells them how tasty the food is. While the two of them are eating, gunshots can be heard in the distance. And Gabe asks if it's firecrackers again. Robbie tells him yeah. But remember, we never go outside when we hear firecrackers. Later that night, Robbie leaves his home and he heads back to the garage. He heads back there because there's a car that he was working on. He wants to take it for a little bit of a spin. As he hops in, he tells himself, don't worry, I'll bring it back before curfew. He heads out to the street races where the prize is 50 grand. Even though he doesn't have his own car, he decided to offer up this car if he loses. He really has no other option. The car is fast and he knows that he can win with it. So why not borrow it for an hour or two? The racers begin to line up, and once the flag drops, they begin to speed on. Robbie pulls ahead, but when he looks back in his rearview mirror, he sees that the other drivers have turned onto other streets. And before Robbie can see what's going on, a helicopter shines a light down on his car. Robbie tries to outrun the helicopter, turning through various streets, and he ends up in a dead-end alley. He then gets out and he drops to his knees, and the men shout for him not to move. And as he sits there, his eyes begin to widen, and then a spray of bullets hits him all over his entire body, killing him. The men then walk past him, leaving him in a pool of blood. They open up the trunk of the car. They report that they found the target. The target being duffel bags full of pills. Once the men take the bags out, one of them lights a match and then throws it on the car, setting the whole alley ablaze. Robbie lays there, and when the fire makes its way towards him, it begins to cover him. As the skin begins to melt away, his body sits back up and a flaming skull begins to scream. The figure gets up and gets back into the car, driving off. On the freeway, the men that shot Robbie begin to shoot at the flaming car that's following them, but their bullets do nothing. One of the men then fires a rocket at the car, but as the car flies through the air, it lands back on the road and continues to follow them. The car begins to pick up speed, and once it gets close enough, the figure shifts gears and plows through the truck and off the highway. The rest of the men travel back to the facility with Dr. Zabo to drop off the pills. Dr. Zabo asks if they retrieved all of the bags, and the mercenary captain tells him yes. So with such success, we should toast to that, right? Dr. Zabo leads the captain into the back room, and then he begins talking to himself. But why celebrate when we're missing one of the bags? Of course I noticed. Then the door closes, and screams can be heard, and the rest of the mercenaries sit watching. Then the door is thrown open as Dr. Zabo bursts through it, and he comes out as a giant hulking beast. The beast walks up to one of the men, spitting in his hand. The mercenary looks down to see an eyeball. Dr. Zabo then tells him, get that missing double back. And McCallum tells him, yes, Mr. Hyde. Back at Robbie's home, Robbie wakes up screaming, telling himself that he had the weirdest nightmare. But since it's the next morning, he decides to get ready for school. And when he's looking in the mirror, he notices something a bit different about himself. One of his eyes changed to an orange color. After he drops Gabe off, he then heads to class himself. But he's stopped by Guerrero asking what did he do to his face. There's no way that he recovered from that beating they gave him. Is he wearing foundation? Robbie stops and he feels his face, realizing he's completely healed. No more black eye or sore spots. Over in Hill Rock Heights, the missing bag that Zabo was looking for is actually now in the hands of Grumpy, a big-time drug dealer in the area. He's been selling those pills as rupees to people. And after selling a pill to a guy who's trying to use it on a woman in the room, a junkie comes over to tell Grumpy that he may want to know it looked like someone stole his car last night and was racing it. Once school is over, Robbie heads back to work, but once he gets there, he's shocked to see that the car that he took is back in the garage and in one piece. And for his entire workday, the only thing that he can do is look at the car and wonder, what the heck is going on? Once he goes home, he puts Gabe to bed, and Robbie heads back to the garage to take the car out again. But as he's locking up the garage, people from Grumpy's crew show up to pick up the car. It is his car. The men shout to Robbie, asking what he's doing stealing that car, and they begin to open fire on him. As the men begin to shoot, a hand reaches out, grabbing the wrist of one of the men, and then the guy with a skull for a head stands there, crushing it. He then punches him into the windshield of the car that they drove up in, and he kicks the knee of the other man next to him. The men all climb back into the car, terrified, and they begin to drive off. The figure just watches. He then looks back at Grumpy's old car, and the doors open, and he begins to give chase. But instead of stopping them, the figure drives past them, then leaving a fiery trail. Once the car stops, the figure gets out and then changes back into Robbie. Robbie looks at his reflection in the car, and he sees the skull figure, and he asks, what are you? And a voice responds, and it tells him, no, the real question is, what are we? We're kindred spirits, unstoppable, everlasting, eternal friends, Robbie. Eternal? Well, not if you die again, we're not. Who died? You did, partner, and I brought you back to life, kind of like a guardian angel. So Robbie asks him, are you an angel? The figure tells him, no, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm a spirit, a human spirit that was killed by a bunch of low-life thugs, just like you were the other night, so I decided to bring you back.
I'm here to help, give you the power to fight back. Fight against all those gangs and bullies, even those parents that left you and your brother alone. All you have to do is trust me, and I'll show you what kind of power we can have. But how can I trust you? How about I show you? The car then begins to burst into flames, and it drives straight through Robbie. And just as the car is about to hit him, the spirit appears over Robbie, turning him back into the skull-faced man. The car drives on. See, you, me, and this car, we're all one and the same. Get away from me, you maniac, Robbie says as he begins to run. And the spirit tells him, my name's Eli. You really can't get away from me even if you try. This is your destiny. Are you ready to take the wheel and take the power to fight back? Robbie tells him, all right, let's ride. He holds out his arms, and the car begins to drive through him, putting him in the driver's seat. And Eli tells him, you made the right choice. Together, we're going to be unstoppable. The next day after school, Robbie heads off to work. And when he gets there, he finds the entire garage was shot up. Eli tells him that people are rubbish, and he knows who did this. He can even help him find him. All he has to do is trust him. Robbie tells him that he does trust him, but where's the car? Over at Grumpy's home, Grumpy's men report that they found his car, but the duffel bags in the bag were missing. Outside of the home, McCallum and his men gather around the house and they begin breaking and surrounding everyone. And he reports back in that they found the target, and it's shoot to kill. The mercenaries start opening fire and shooting everyone in Grumpy's group. So Grumpy reaches down, grabbing a handful of the pills, and he eats them back in the garage. Eli tells me that even without the car, he can take them to it. They just need to follow the path. Some of Grumpy's men managed to get Grumpy out, but Grumpy was shot in the stomach. They rushed to the hospital in the car, when suddenly on the roof of the car, a skull begins to push out of it. Arms that appear to grab the men driving the car, and he pushes them through the roof onto the top of it. Robbie, as the skull-faced man, begins to punch and beat down the men, and then he tosses them off the side. But Robbie then hears a groan from inside of the car, and then Grumpy bursts out looking like the same beast that Mr. Hyde changed into earlier. Grumpy steps out of the wrecked car, and Eli tells him to go, destroy him, annihilate him. Look what he did to our beautiful car. Robbie charges at him, but Grumpy kicks him square in the head, and a loud crack can be heard. Grumpy then starts beating down on Robbie, but before Grumpy can finish him off, the car begins to burst into flames. It starts to drive itself. The car then rams into Grumpy, knocking him away, and Robbie jumps up, grabbing him by the neck. Eli tells him, that's it, choke him out. And then Eli notices something. Grumpy ate so many of the pills that he started to grow bigger, and he actually grew an extra pair of arms. Grumpy smashes the ground, and he walks away with a duffel bag. And Eli says, we can't win them all, kid. Back home, Robbie decided to shave his head, and he gets to see Eli in the mirror in front of him. And Eli tells him that our bond is getting stronger, just as they were. Over in Zabo's lab, he continues his research on the pills that he made, and he begins to see the problem. The pills were not effective because they were the wrong dosage. The Hyde serum is to give someone more strength, but when he changed the formula, he accidentally changed the dosage. So once he's done changing it back to where it should be, he'll have a stable and flawlessly effective weapon. Once he's finished, he says that he's ready to make the blue pill. Later, Robbie takes Gabe out for a ride in the new car to go get some ice cream. And as they come to a stop, Robbie looks down the road to see Zabo and his men talking to Guerrero. Robbie's eyes begin to light on fire, and Eli tells him to go ahead. Give Guerrero the beating that he needs. Take back the wheelchair. They can beat him within an inch of his life. Robbie resists and decides that now is not the time. As they drive off, the conversation that Zabo was having with Guerrero was to get information on where they can find Grumpy and the rest of his crew. Zabo promised him money and power, and after giving him the money, Zabo gathers his men and heads off. Once Robbie and Gabe get their ice cream, Eli tells Robbie that if he doesn't eat his ice cream, it's going to melt, and he doesn't want him to ruin the nice leather in this car. Robbie then tells him that he wants to move them out of this place. Gabe's not safe here, and Eli tells him that he can start that change if he wants. He can burn every single drug corner, gang hideout. They can scorch this neighborhood's evil at its source. Robbie gets a call from work, and after a little bit of convincing, he agrees to show up for a late shift the next day. He just needs to get a sitter for Gabe. So Robbie calls up Gabe's teacher, Mrs. Venezuela, to see if she can watch him while he works, and she tells him that that's fine. So they pull out of the driveway that they were stopped in, and that's when Gabe sees a group of people fighting, and he asks Robbie, what are they fighting about? And Robbie tells him, he's not sure, buddy. But Eli tells Robbie, because they're rubbish. People are rubbish. Over in Hill Rock Heights, Zabo and his men have reached where Grumpy is hiding, and Grumpy starts to beat all of the mercenaries coming after him. Grumpy sees Zabo, and he tells him that no one will take those pills away from him. But Zabo tells him he doesn't need those pills. It's already in their veins. Zabo begins to drink a vial of blue liquid, and Grumpy asks him, what do you mean by we? And Zabo begins to change into Hyde. He then charges at Grumpy. Once he grabs a hold of Grumpy, he rips him in half. And as it begins to rain blood, Hyde tells everyone that they have the addresses of all of the gang's hideouts. Starting tomorrow, we're going to begin wiping out every gang in the area, giving a very crystal clear message. This is what happens when you act against Dr. Zabo. You meet the wrath of Mr. Hyde.
The next day at work, one of Robbie's coworkers gets a call from his wife stating that there's a gang shootout over in East Hill Rock Heights. That's where Robbie's little brother's school is at, right? Robbie tells him, of course, but Eli stops him and says,
Remember, Mrs. Venezuela was watching Gabe. She lives in that neighborhood.
Robbie says he has to go. And elsewhere, Gabe is riding his bus to Mrs. Venezuela's house. And the bus driver looks around to see what she's driving into. A gang war with bullets flying everywhere. She tries to move out of the way, but she ends up hitting a curb, turning the bus over right next to Guerrero and his crew. Guerrero tells everyone that they need to go, but his crew stops.
Okay, guys, there is my prediction. No, that's the wrong word. But there's what I've drawn for the word ghost today. As you've been listening to in the background, that is Ghost Rider, and this is my Ghost Rider. Here we go. Put a little bit of colour, as you can see. Only a little bit, though, and I'm only flecking it. I'm not colouring the whole sort of scene in. I probably will do that, but in a different way when I do the digital version of this, because it's screaming at me to be digitized. So I'm going to be doing that one, putting the extra color in the flame effect. But yeah, I've used a few pens. I've only used ink pens as always, and started off with just 2 eyes. Thanks for watching all the way to the end if you have, and click the links that will appear in a moment or two. But yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed this one. If you want to listen to some more of this, go and check out the playlist in the playlist where you find the playlists for some more drawings by me. We've done a Venom, if you do like Venom, so go and check that one out. That one has been fully digitized. This one is day 22 for Inktober, and that is the Ghost Rider. Tune in tomorrow, because there'll be another picture live here on my channel. Click the links that will appear and subscribe if you're new. Bye for now, and thanks for watching.